So our next topic in this section is derivatives of trig functions. And so we're going to start, we already know the derivative of sine and cosine, but now let's move on to tangent. So let's find the derivative of y equals tangent x. Okay, so I have my function tangent of x, but I know I can rewrite tangent as a fraction. It's sine over cosine. And then here I have a quotient, so we can use the quotient rule. So that's what we're going to use here. So let's go ahead and do that. Y prime would be the bottom times the derivative of the top minus top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. Okay, so the derivative of sine we said is cosine. The derivative of cosine is a negative sine. And this is cosine squared. So then what I get, if I simplify the top, this is y prime, our derivative, cosine squared, and then you'll get plus sine squared. But cosine squared plus sine squared, that's just equal to 1. So y prime is 1 over cosine squared. But 1 over cosine squared, that's the same thing as secant squared. So what we just learned is that the derivative of tangent is secant squared. You can do something similar to this to get the derivative of cotangent. The derivative of cotangent will be negative cosecant squared. And then the derivative of secant, you'll get secant times tangent. And the derivative of cosecant will be negative cosecant cotangent. So these are my 4 derivatives here that we were missing, our 4 trig derivatives that we were missing. So might want to keep these in mind. And so now let's do some more derivatives with trig functions. Find the derivatives of the following functions. So the first one we're going to do is the function y equals x minus tangent x. Then the derivative, dy dx, take the derivative piece by piece. So the derivative of x is just going to be 1 minus, and now the derivative of tangent, we learned is secant squared, so it's 1 minus secant squared. And there's my derivative. One more trig function. Let's look at y equals x times secant x. Now this function, it is a product. It's made up of 2 pieces, x and secant x, so you're going to have to use the product rule here. So y prime, derivative, x times the derivative of secant plus secant times the derivative of x. This is by the product rule. And secant, we learned that the derivative was secant times tangent. And the derivative of x is just 1 by the power rule. So this would be my derivative right here. X secant x tangent x plus secant x.